Hi, we start this episode with an interesting query which I got from my viewer. As you can see, it is from Gene. He says that a very stupid question: how does an executable binary from user space prevented by kernel from accessing memory that is application is not intended to do? And like dereferencing of hard-coded addresses and stuff. So it's just I felt it is one interesting use case I can discuss in the context of process address space, which is when I thought I should cover this in a video. Of course, as you can see there, I have replied him explaining all the aspects, but I felt this is a quite useful thing which we can certainly discuss in an episode, so that it is just not about a query which Gene have, but many do have when they initially learn about systems software development. Many times they do that, but they are not clearly aware that this something can happen internally. Okay, so what I can do is I can do a very quick demonstration. Hope you remember last time I was covering about kernel modules and I was doing some quick demonstrations. So something like that I can kind of show the context of address space in user space, what actually happens. See, we take a glass of water like this, and what I can do is I have some couple of fountain pen ink colors. What I can do is this, I can put some couple of drops of this red ink, see this, so that it is appearing clearly in the camera. See, I just put this red dye in that, and what we do is I have another glass of water. Okay, see this, and what we do is we can put the regular blue ink into this. So we assume we can assume that these two glasses represents two different independent processes which is user space application. So every time you write any simple C code with main API and stuff like that, or C++, this is what exactly happens. Of course, when you do some Python scripts and something like that, then an interpreter which actually runs your scripts, so there it happens in a different way. But let's take an example, like you have a typical C code, you compile it and you run it, and you have its own address space. This address space, whatever you get it in this process is actually created by the Linux kernel, and it is what is creating this address space, and it is providing this environment as a platform, because that's why we call an operating system is a platform. So as a platform, the kernel is providing that so that the process can run. So this water in this container, you can imagine this is the process address space. So if you have two processes, what happens is both the processes are having its own address space. See, this is its address space, this is its own address space. There is no question of mixing it. And moreover, coming back to Gene's question, the whole thing is actually created by the kernel, and it is what is giving this atmosphere or platform. So what happens is, in that circumstance, kernel knows if this process is violating something, so obviously kernel will know. And moreover, the process address mapping, logical to physical address, and all, partly it also happens. I mean, of course, this happens as a hardware offload within the CPU context. So what happens is, again, there it is quite easy to check whether this is trying to violate and getting into somewhere where it has no access. So it is quite easy. So which is why I just told him that it is something, it is not kind of possible, because the whole atmosphere or the whole thing is created by the kernel itself. So since the kernel is what doing this, it is something kind of not possible. So in this case, you have two different address spaces, and both are independent, and both cannot mingle with each other. And if they want to share any data or something in between, which is why we have the IPC. So which is what extensively I have discussed in an episode like this, what is an IPC. So hope you can see there. So I did two parts of that lengthy episode, so you can see there. So if anyone is interested, I suggest you can watch the episode like what is an IPC, and then Also, what is a kernel module? The whole what is a kernel module video is not strictly about kernel module. Also, I covered sort of some system aspects like I always do. So it is just not about kernel modules. In that episode, I told generally if you categorize any set of APIs and data structures and all, you can call it as a module, not necessary the init module and all you write a typical kernel module. So not all loadable modules alone is a kernel module. It can be any bunch of APIs and data structures can be also called as a kernel module. So that is where I want to clarify. But when you think about IPs, the whole thing is you have a different address space. Like I can show here, you have two different address space. It's a complete different address space, a logical address space. It is what a Linux kernel creates, and or any operating system in that case. Okay, it creates and it provides this platform or environment to the user space applications. So user space applications can run in this address space alone. Once it is over, it will die, and the address space will be revoked by the kernel memory management module, obviously. Okay, so that's what happens. In case if you are learning or you want to do some code work or something, I highly recommend go to the kernel source, and I think it did some update. Let me open the Firefox once again. You go here and explore the mm folder. Okay, see, this is what it has, all the APIs which tackles the address management within the kernel stuff itself. I mean to say the code within the kernel also, and also you have various stuff to manage the user space, this logical addressing, and as you see here it has this pages and other stuff. So entire thing obviously it is going to have that respective stuff. So explore over here to learn more of this kernel's memory management. There are a lot of things to that, and please note, if you are a beginner, just don't consider that this is what happens in Linux and this is what all it is. It is not the case. The kernel changes every day. The code gets added and codes get removed if it is something obsolete or something to be, if something is bug fixed or improved and things like that. Every day it happens. So every 100 days code changes drastically. Some of these components will change drastically every yearly once, or maybe 5 years once. Definitely it changes a lot. I mean to say this core platform code. Okay, of course, let's not add the device drivers and stuff. Every time any new hardware comes, of course you need to add drivers. That's a known thing, but I'm generally saying this is what happens. And what happens is you can explore the source code over here. This is what happens in the kernel space. And when it comes to a question of providing this thing, user space, logical addressing, or things like this, it's actually the kernel part does its job. And so the user space, whenever you spawn a process, you start a new process. Okay, like see, I am opening this calculator application. So whenever you spawn a process, again this is one confusion many system software developers have. This confusion is they think about this fork command and all this bullshit. I'm saying every time you do anything in the UI, even you are spawning this processes from this UI interface, you are not doing through some fork command. So that is one way of doing. This is also doing the same what happens over there. Through UI you do that. So every time you spawn any process like this, say I'm opening this system monitor app, I'm opening this, anytime you spawn any process, so each time the kernel creates this new address space, and so that that process can thrive within these boundaries. Hence I commented, hence I told him that there are exceptions if there is any system security flaws or some CPU security flaws or something like that, because this is something is partly managed by CPU hardware offload. Okay, in fact you can search about it in Google. You can search address mapping CPU, you type, you should get lot of things related to this. Okay, see, you can get this type of stuff. CPU gets that logical address and then it maps to the physical address, and all this is all actually done by hardware offload. Okay, if you don't have hardware offload, your system performance will suck. So it's just a simple common sense. Okay, you don't do this in software layer, which means the kernel doesn't do. Kernel will kind of initiate and it will offload it to the CPU. So CPU takes care of these things. So this is something happens in the CPU level, as you can see these pictures, but eventually this is managed by the memory management module or the subsystem, which contains several modules. See, this is the subsystem which contains several modules. So they take care of most of this stuff, okay, or all of this stuff, okay, in Linux kernel. So you can now see any pictures and then you can use your common sense. You can understand, okay, this is a simple CPU offload. The CPU does this job and it doesn't happen through the software aspect of Linux kernel. So which means it is offloaded to the CPU. So the mapping, although there is a overload is involved, unlike you do something in the kernel space, still what happens is, since it is offloaded to the CPU, it's quite fast and it is not going to affect the performance much. Okay, so that is what we can infer. And coming to this comment, so I told, if something is not like that and somewhere there is a memory leak, somehow there is some data of this address space is able to be read from this address space, something like that happens, then you have some sort of a security hole and you have some issue in terms of protecting that address space which is supposed to be protected. Okay, so then there is some lapse, there is a system flaw and a security hole, and it should be, such a violation should be addressed. Hence the reason you will read often there is some bug discovered in Intel chip, and then someone can hack and all that, which means actually what they are telling is there is a leak in some address space. I mean to say, not all bugs what they discover about the processors, I am not saying Intel processors, some of the processor bugs are related to this. These are quite dangerous. Okay, these are quite dangerous because if this process is doing some banking transaction, some sort of a thing like this, and if there is any leak, and by running this rogue process, you can somehow get access to this process which is supposed to be protected at all costs. Okay, so such a leak should not happen. If that happens, it can be, most probably a culprit can be some issue in the hardware protecting that address space, because it's a kernel offload being done on the CPU, as that picture states, what you can see here. Hence I said, if that is a violation happens, then there is a system breach, you can see there, and there is a security hole. So that's what. So since this thing, I kind of mentioned this in different videos in a way, but I felt, let me talk about the process address space once for all in a dedicated video. So if you are a beginner, you get that context. Okay, so if you run any multi-threading and all that stuff, all you are doing is you are running multiple threads. Let's assume this small Lego brick or something is a small thread. You just put over here. So as you see here, it is a small thread runs in this process context, and you can put you can run like that multiple threads. Where if I find something, yeah, I got the small plastic disc over here. So let's assume this is another thread. You put it here. All are address working in the same address space. Hence, if you run any threads, all the threads are going to share the same address space. Hence, if you have any common buffers here or something in this address space, you need to use the synchronization or something between these threads. So it's again a simple common sense. Why you need a synchronization? You need synchronization when you run multiple threads sharing some sort of a common address space. It's not a good scenario which I like most. Like, you know me, I'm not a big fan of synchronization. I feel that first you need to avoid at any cost. If there is no choice, unfortunately you need to use a dirty synchronization, which is going to defeat the purpose of parallelism. Hence architecturally I am saying, I'm generally, see, you know me, I talk like an architect, I don't talk like some instructor or something. So architecturally I don't like putting any sort of stupid synchronization. There is no question of which is more better, which is more not, which is superior, which is inferior. There is no debate about that. I don't like the context of synchronizing anything. If you synchronize, your whole thing is defeated. Hence the more challenging aspect is, without synchronization, without sharing a common address space, how you can architect something design like this. So that's a different thing I have anyway covered in many episodes, but generally I am saying this is what it is. Hence if there is any security flaws or some sort of a thing, something is hacked, something is compromised, security is compromised, then a breach happens, then you can somehow, some rogue application can access in this way. So hence it is not secure. Hence this is the reason, if you compare monolithic kernels with microkernel, sometimes these processes can be an operating system subsystems working in the user space, not in the kernel space. Okay, sometimes this can be working in the user space, not in the kernel space, and this is a part of operating system subsystem. Unlike Linux, here it is working in user space. This can be networking file system, something like that. It is working in user space. Hence, if it is not a monolithic kernel like hybrid or microkernels like Windows or any microkernels like that, there is a small possibility. I believe even the Symbian OS, which used to happen in old Nokia phones, is a microkernel. I think so. We can quickly Google Symbian OS. Go to the Wikipedia and they mention its architecture of the kernel. Yeah, you can see the real-time microkernel. Okay, and you get this sort of a picture. Hence, if this process is not some random user application, instead this is a operating system OS subsystem, but runs in the user space, unlike Linux kernel. If something like that is the case, then if the system is not secure enough and the security is compromised, then there is a chance that something, a valuable data it holds, someone can hack and gain access to that data, something like this. So you imagine like that, without a proper system defined IPC, and some IPC is authenticated to get such a thing. Okay, so if that is not the case, then the system is compromised. Hence, if you use any Windows operating systems or something, there is a more likely chance that system can get compromised. Hence, in Windows you need to roll out regular security patches and updates, weekly updates, because you can't protect such architecture. So architecturally it is impossible to protect even something like that. So hope by now you got some big picture and a context behind these aspects. If you have anything to discuss, be in touch via mail or post your Q&A queries in YouTube comments like this. Okay, thanks a lot for joining me. Stay tuned. Have a nice day. Bye bye.